Hi, Savaskia. How you doing?
How you doing this afternoon?
I am here.
Yeah, me too. That's about where I'm at as well. I am here. Yeah. All righty. Is it me and you so far?
Just
Oh,
so
that's good.
far.
That's
but
good for me because I showed up on time.
we got more people joining in.
Yeah, here we go. All righty. Bye.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Belinda.
Hi. Hello.
So Wesley, I am, just so you know, I may end up dialing in on the phone. So let me in when I do, because I'm gonna be in motion. I'm in New York right now. And I'm eventually gonna have to get in a car.
That's what we do. We multitask, but we make it happen. We understand.
Absolutely. Somehow, actually, I want to try to dial in just so I can do, because for whatever reason, I'm not able to do audio with the headset here. It's not working. So I'm dialing in so that I can double check with it. Okay, can you guys hear me? Oh, so you can hear me on the,
Yeah.
okay, I hear you through my, okay. It wasn't working earlier.
We'll just give it a few more moments as people are logging in, and then we'll get started. So glad to see everybody in here so far.
I started to think Zoom needs to add a feature where you can have like good wait music that just kind of like goes right until you're ready to start the meeting. Then you hit start and like, so you get people kind of grooving.
Right.
Like that elevator music, Matthew. You're on the elevator.
But good.
No one wants to hear the girl from Ipanema. No one wants to hear the girl from Ipanema.
I kind of like it.
Not again, at least.
Just stating it. Just calling it into existence.
It's outlived its life and then some.
Although I'm old enough to be absolutely struck dumb when I am in Kroger and I hear an elevator version of Janie's Got a Gun. That's when you know you're old. And you're humming along in the fresh produce. Janie's got a gun.
You know, I'm gonna have to look that up now because I want to hear the elevator version of that. Like, I'm interested.
As a friend, Matthew, no, you don't. Just say a hard no. Say, get thee behind me, Satan. No.
Yeah, not a hole worth going down. Okay, got it.
we'll just give it 2 more minutes and then we'll start. Has anybody got anything to share, like good news or anything that they want to celebrate with us?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Our last night, we've been in our region, we've been meeting with our new church, our new churches, our congregations in formation, and a couple folks who are interested in possibly affiliating. And we've been doing kind of an expanded covenant conversations. We've been using the curriculum, but adding in pieces to have regular conversation and talk about what it means to be DOC and covenant and all those sort of things. And last night we went through, we've kind of worked on our covenant documents of what actually getting out, what does this mean, right? What does this practically mean for us? And so we shared those for the first time with kind of our group. And it was some good conversation, and I was very, I'll say I was pleased that there wasn't any sort of like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like that should be in there. So it was good. It feels like we're making motion.
Awesome. That's so good. Yeah, that's great.
Happy to celebrate that.
That's great. All right. Well, the time is 12:05. Let's go ahead and get started. First off, I would like to start with a word of prayer. Anybody care to that I don't pray? All right, let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, Lord, to kind of speak what's going on in our denomination as a whole, Lord, as we are here to establish new congregations and to proclaim your love into this world that needs to know that you are here in this world and you have not forsaken this world, and that there are many people out there that need to feel your love. May you bless this conversation and this time together as we meet. We ask this in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So before we get moving along, I would like to first say and lift up the president of Disciples Church Extension Fund. She is participating in this meeting today. We were supposed to have Terry, Reverend Terry, but she has been taken to different meetings. But we're so glad that our Madam President of DCEF, Belinda King, is here. So Belinda, if you want to say a few words for us, please.
Well, I guess it's afternoon. It's probably afternoon in Central too. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be a part of this group and join today, and for us to imagine and dream together as we do this great work for New Church Ministry and to the for the greater church. And coming off of a board meeting where New Church Ministry was at the top of the agenda of conversation, which is a good thing to know that New Church Ministry is supported 110% by our board, and want this ministry to continue within DCEF, and as well as how do we put our hands and everything around this. Jose, myself, and Reverend Terry Hort, an action came out of that for us to be very engaged and involved in being a part of this group and what that looks like as we move forward together. So thank you for having me here. I'm excited, and I apologize, I'm gonna be off the camera too as well, but I wanted to at least come on and speak. I still can be on camera and not in motion, so.
All right. Thank you, Belinda. Okay. Yeah. So this is our first NCLC meeting since the transition. So just to let you all be aware of the position that we're in, if you don't know me, I'm Reverend Dr. Jose Martinez. I've been the Associate Minister of New Church Ministry for the past almost 3 years. And when Terrell moved to his new position, it was decided that I would be in the position of transitional minister of New Church Ministry. And so we use the word transitional versus interim because I do want to apply for the job. So that's why we're using the word transitional. And the transitional period is for at least to the end of this year. So that's the plan so far. And so throughout this meeting, we're going to discuss some of the way forward during this year. I developed a strategic plan for this year. I will share that with everybody today, and some of the ideas and thinking that to move forward in the future beyond the year, if I'm selected as the permanent minister of New Church Ministry. But before we do that, I believe my colleague in my brain of New Church Ministry has some announcements to say. So Wesley, if you would say the announcements. You're still muted somehow. Okay, he's having technical difficulties.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had my mic switched when I was trying to use my AirPods and they started to die. So I got a few things I want to share real quick. First, I want to go ahead and put the registration link to our next New Church Hacks episode into the link, or into the chat, excuse me. This is an episode on trauma-informed ministry. We are trying to address some of these areas of ministry that don't get a lot of light and that don't get a lot of sharing. This is a really important area of ministry, but it's one that a lot of folks aren't very familiar with. So we've got three wonderful panelists who are going to share their aspects of working in trauma-informed church, especially in the recovery of a global pandemic. So that is April 27th. I'm going to put that in there as well. April 27th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time or Central Time. So make sure that you register for that. Even if you aren't able to be there in person, go ahead and register, because we send that link out to everyone who is registered. So even if you can't be there in real time, we'll send you that link so that you can watch that later. And then the other thing I wanted to share was we just went on our very first inaugural leaders retreat. And I was just going to share a few things about that retreat with you being our New Church Leadership Cooperative. I kind of see you as co-laborers, co-creators. I see you as accountability partners. I see you as an extension of the NCM team who is helping us shape what we're doing and who we're serving. So let me just really quickly share my screen. I promise this will be short. Let's see, here it is. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is a presentation I put forth so that Jose can have this. So that he can talk with his bosses about. But I did want to quickly move through this. If you'd like to see it in a time where I'm not in a rush, I'm happy to send it to you. So first of all, look at this beautiful shot. This is from Lake Tahoe, Nevada. This is from the dining hall, just looking over the lake. It was an absolutely gorgeous space. And I wanted to share some of the demographics from our group. We want to make sure that we are representing the whole church and that we are serving the whole church. So we had about 43.8% of folks that were white, and 37.5% were Hispanic. This is a growth from Leadership Academy where we had, I want to say it was over 60% white. So I'm super excited that we had more of a diverse representation at the Leaders Retreat. We also had 12.5% Black or African American, and also 6.3% Asian or Pacific Islander, specifically the Chuukese population, which I know Reverend Dr. Jose is really wanting to lift them up. This is a little bit different of a change since Leadership Academy. In Leadership Academy, we had more female leadership than male leadership, but we had about 60% male, 40% female on this group, on this trip. We also had a few folks who unfortunately weren't able to make it. But those folks would have self-identified as either trans or non-binary. So we're excited that they were interested, but we were unfortunately not able to have them join us due to scheduling conflicts. This was the age breakdown. This is very indicative of what Leadership Academy looked like last year. The majority of our folks are in that 46 to 50 age range or 51 to 55. And as you go younger, the numbers go lower. But I'm super excited, and I'm sure Jose will speak about this later, that he wants to really target some of those younger age groups and create those leaders for tomorrow. I also included this because I thought this was a great demographic that is growing in our tradition and especially in those who are wanting to start faith communities. On this group, we had about 18.8% who were openly somewhere in the LGBTQIA umbrella. And as we are talking with folks, as we're having meetings with folks, we're seeing more and more queer folks who are interested in starting church faith communities. So we are excited about that as well. This is mainly for us, but I did want to share this piece because while the majority of folks learned from the NCM website or from our team, the next biggest group learned from their region. So thank you, region folks, for sharing our events with your folks, with in your newsletters, all of those things. They really do help us get the word out about what we're doing here. As you can imagine, being in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, the majority of our folks came from the Northern California, Nevada region or the Pacific Southwest region, but we also had folks from Arizona, Kentucky, Greater Kansas City, Tennessee, that's me, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Florida, and Kansas. This is a great picture of some of the group on one of our prayer walks at the Portal of Prayer overlooking Lake Tahoe. It's a gorgeous space. It's so quiet. It's so peaceful. We had a wonderful worship experience there. I'm not going to go through this, but we did do some feedback. Everybody loved the space. Well, I say everybody. Some people wanted to be a little closer to home, but for the majority, most people really loved being at Lake Tahoe. This is what they got out of our spiritual direction sessions with Annie, who is a UCC spiritual director. This is what people got out of our self-reflection, specifically around the Enneagram. But it wasn't just about us. Trey really went in on how we can use the Enneagram to use it in our preaching, use it in our pastoral care. He was giving examples. It was actually a very useful tool. If you've got someone on your board that's a 6 that you know is going to immediately jump to the worst case scenario, knowing that helps you be able to prepare to address those concerns ahead of time. If you've got someone who's a 7, who's has tons of ideas, you know that ahead of time, you know that you can find people that come behind them and help make those things come to life. So it was a wonderful tool. These are some things that went well: beautiful, gorgeous space, energy and pacing, free time, well organized. These are some things that we could have improved on. Some people didn't like the food. I thought the food was fine. It's cafeteria food, but snacks not being so far from the East Coast folks. And give some short quotes, and then any other thoughts. And then this is the sunset view from the beach. So it was absolutely stunning. I share that with you because I see that I see the benefit from you folks, our NCLC team, giving input, holding us accountable, making sure that we are serving the entire church and that we are representing the entire church. So if anybody would like to see that when I'm not, rushing through it, I'm happy to send it to you. But if there are no questions, I'll turn it back over to Jose.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wesley. Just want to kind of lift up all the hard work that Wesley did, and Joy Robinson, Dr. Joy Robinson, who's the associate minister of New Church Ministry, putting the thought, and then of course our facilitators, Trey and Annie, they did excellent work, and I think a lot of people got a lot of benefit of it. And we also got a lot of feedback that wouldn't it be great if we could invite all, because we had some, like, as the registration was going, some people were like, hey, can I bring my spouse? And we allowed them to do that. And then all of a sudden the need was like, oh yeah, this would be great if all of our spouses could come. And so we're kind of thinking about that as we move forward with this, having it also, because, intimate partners are very important within when you're starting new faith communities and things of that nature. And so I would call it relationship care, because not everybody conforms to the marriage. So it's just, relationship care with intimate partners. So I am trained in many different marriage care curriculums because of my military job as a chaplain. And that's what I do. I facilitate marriage retreats for them. So wouldn't it be good to use my skills and skill set for that? Wonder. So we are going to plan something in the future with that as we move forward. So that was the first big hurdle that we've had this year in the leadership that I'm providing. So, and we view it as a success. So we plan on doing more leadership events. We're trying to visit as many regional assemblies as we could possibly go to kind of expand on what we're seeing in the future. So on that note, let me start sharing my screen. Uh-oh, we're doing this. Okay, I was having this problem yesterday. Hey, Wesley, do you have the strategic PDF plan on your computer?
I do somewhere. Let me find it real quick. Okay, I've got it.
Okay, can you share it, please?
Yes.
Okay, so in short, this is a one-page kind of like abbreviated strategic plan. What I have, this is what I submitted to Belinda and to the DCEF board to kind of let them know how are we going to move forward in this transition time. The key word that I want everybody to kind of keep in their mind is continuity, because we want to maintain the confidence within New Church Ministry for the church, so that's a key word that I'm going to be focusing on. But with the New Church Ministry strategic plan, so here on the top part of the page, underneath New Church Ministry title, you'll see on one side, teach, equip, assist, and multiplying, emerging, and filling congregations and leaders, which is the mission statement of New Church Ministry. And then on the right-hand side is making disciples and initiating movements of wholeness in a fractured world. That is the vision. So I just want to lift those up, keep those up on top of our strategic plan, because that's what we're doing. We're helping, teaching, equipping, assisting, multiplying, emerging, and affiliating congregations. Now, this is also helpful in the language aspect of it. One of the key things that I raised up during the DCEF board meeting was this idea of language. So we've been trying to utilize a lot of, in our curriculum, as I say, in New Church Ministry, we use a lot of curriculum from other church planting entities, a lot of ideas from a lot of church planting entities. And with that, we've noticed that the new startups that we have encountered, the new faith communities that are starting up in our denomination, seem a little bit clunky. From my inquiry of this, my deduction is that it's because we're utilizing those church planting materials. Now, when I say church planting, we've been focused a lot on this past year about decolonization, and we're going to be talking through this. And this is going to be kind of the whole aspect of changing language. As some of you might know, that there's been some lifting of the topic of church planting being part of the industrial complex of church. So a lot of the planting strategies, a lot of the planting movements are part of this idea of church as a industrial complex versus church as a movement. And for us as a denomination, we are focused on church as a movement, as it even states in our own identity of the disciples of Christ. So trying to get back to that initial identity part of us as disciples. We are a movement of wholeness in a fractured world. We also come historically from a movement called the Restoration Movement or Stone Campbell Movement. So again, our goal wasn't to plant churches, and even in the design of the Christian church states that we're to establish congregations. So a lot different from planting churches. So that's one of the key things that we are focusing on this year. So with that, going back to our mission and vision, we're trying to re-identify back with the intent of our language. And then from there, as you can see, as an organizer, I don't use the SWOT analysis. I use the SOAR analysis. So that's the next line down. That's the strengths, opportunities, aspiration, and results. So as far as New Church Ministry goes, our strengths is that we are known as a source of innovation. We have many denominational and ecumenical partners, and we are always in continual research and development with the things that we have. And we always try to bring things new up to the forefront. So New Church Hacks has been a key tool into that. Leadership Academy, we've always tried to bring in new voices from the industry. When I say industry, church planting industry, because that is an industry that makes a lot of money for a lot of different denominations. But we've been trying to bring in different voices and to kind of help us think beyond our box, so to speak. And then the opportunities that we have for this transitional time, better regional relationships that we've been working on, more engagement of youth and young adults. So even in the previous years, one of the key elements within my job description as the associate minister of New Church Ministry was to engage with the young adult population. So we were developing relationships with Young Leaders Collective. We were talking to the GYC. So things of that nature. So we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to be more intentional about it. And then highlight decolonized practices. Again, from last year, the last New Church Hacks podcast was about decolonizing church, so to speak. Then we have the aspirations. We want to highlight spiritual health. And when I say CP, it's church planting. Of course, we're going to be changing that language as we move forward. Grow intersectional ministries, and then maintain fiduciary growth and support. So when I say grow intersectional ministries, I mean more than just the constituency that we have, National Convocation, Obra Hispana, NAPAD. We also want to include also Green Chalice and Alliance Q and the indigenous ministries that we have. So we want to start incorporating more intra-denominationally of the intersectional ministries. So what the results that we're wanting to do for this transitional period is at least conduct 3 educational events about spiritual health within New Church. So this retreat was the first event of those 3 events. We focused on a lot on the Enneagram, and then there was a focus about spiritual direction. We want to continue this idea of spiritual resiliency, spiritual fitness within initiating new faith communities. So number 2 is diversify new church ministry participants through invitation by 25%. So as you saw, Wesley's breaking down all the demographics of our groups and things of that nature. We want to increase from the previous year. So this year's Leadership Academy, we hope to grow even more, not only, again, racially or ethnically, we want denominationally, and we also want, all the other identifiers we could utilize, such as sexual orientation, things of that nature, single, married, all that. And then we also want to increase or maintain donations as we've been getting in, not only from Pentecost offering, but also people coming onto our website and donating through that. So those are the key things through the SOAR analysis. So from that SOAR analysis, we created strategic priorities. And the strategic priorities are listed 3 here. So integrating intersectionality, resilient spirituality, and continual steward engagement. So let's go with the first section. So the objectives within the integrating intersectionality is increase diverse representations in seminars and events, not only through participants, but also presenters. So we're being intentional about our presenters. And then increase diversity in CPAs. So CPA is church planner assessments, and we're going to change that language from church planner assessment to something else. We kind of have to create something new because the way a lot of the industry utilizes CPAs, there's a particular avatar, so to speak, an ideal person that they have in their head. Usually it's a young mid-20s, married, Caucasian male, right, is what they're looking for. So we're changing that. We have a different kind of ideal for a avatar and things of that nature, but it'll be called something else. But we want to increase diversity and the engagement that we have as a whole, not only me as minister of New Church Ministry, but also you all in the region, in the collectives, or in the regions and your new church commissions, interviewing and discussing with people about starting new faith communities. So hopefully we can help out with the guidelines to help you kind of like assess people in the sense of whether they would be, what would help them to be successful in that. And then also increase diversity in Leadership Academy. Then we want to also teach, equip, assist, and multiply decolonize best practices. So again, we're engaging in decolonialism, we're engaging in post-colonial literature, things of that nature. We're just diving in to see what's happening, and not only in our denomination, but in other denominations, the UCC, Presbyterian USA, United Church of Canada. They're all dealing with this idea of decolonization, because decolonization is anti-racist work. Right, so it's all encompassing. So it's part of our DNA into doing that. All right, resilient spirituality. The objectives of that: we want to develop awareness of moral injury and trauma-informed ministry. Again, we're tackling that first with the New Church Acts about trauma-informed ministry. So we're already on our way of doing that. Team spiritual resiliency practices to all NCM participants. So anybody that comes through Leadership Academy will get a dose of what is spiritual health, what is spiritual fitness, and how do we remain resilient in these times. We're being intentional, not using post-COVID or post-pandemic language, because we're not post anything. We are in recovery. We are recovering from a natural disaster. So it is a pandemic recovery. So we want to help people develop language so that they in turn can share that with their communities for an overall community spiritual wellness. So that's what we'll be doing with that. team holistic health and movement initiating. So again, part of the decolonization practice is changing language. And so I'm starting to use this in a little bit by bit in our documentation. So instead of church planting, the idea of movement initiating is the key thing, because we are a movement for wholeness. So we want to initiate congregations that are movements for wholeness. All right. Continual student engagement. Maintain or increase Pentecost offering, as we said before. Partner with denominational entities not previously engaged. Again, talking about, Green Chalice, Alliance Q, and all the other, like GYC, all the other entities that we haven't engaged with specifically. And then maintain and foster current ecumenical partners. And we're doing that well. Again, United Church Canada, UCC, United States, Presbyterian USA, United Methodist Churches. We are in continual conversation with the leaders of those organizations that are in charge of like fostering new communities and sharing ideas. Actually, this next month, that a lot of them will be here in Kansas City. Terrell's working for the upper room, so he's still majorly involved, and I'm involved with the EPO. It's called the EPO group, Ecumenical Partners Outreach, and we're having the meeting here in Kansas City. So Terrell and I will be working together to make that happen. So we're still fostering those ecumenical partners and relationships. Now, to get down to the meat of the thing, how do you do this? How do you put the rubber to the road? So when we're looking down the column of integrating intersectionality for that strategic priority, the tactical initiative would be decolonize the language, decolonize the language of church planting, decolonize the language of church itself, things of that nature, and just really try to be intentional on creating new language to foster movement. That's the whole idea, church as movement. We want to deconstruct systemic racist church planting practices. We want to also learn from what community organizers have developed, look at the way that they do that. There's other organizations out there like the CCDA. I'm in conversation with PICO, I'm in conversation with Gamliel, all those folks that do community organizing, but utilize faith communities in order to do that. So there's got to be somewhere in the middle that we can utilize as a denomination to help foster communities of faith. Number 3 is to collaborate with constituency groups. Again, I'm just one person. I am Latino, but I'm a Latino cisgendered male. So I have one lens that I can see through. And so partnership is key in the development of the language and development of the curriculum that we'll have to develop for Leadership Academy, and then also developing a curriculum for the whole church to utilize to keep engaging with their movement initiators throughout the year. So we're in development of that. So the outcome that we're wanting to see from all that tactical initiative is justice and equity. Now we move over to the next column, resilient spirituality. The tactical initiatives is talking about movement chaplaincy and teaching the elements of movement chaplaincy. Chaplaincy is my core skill set, I would say, as a person, clergy. So there's a lot of things that I've learned through hospital chaplaincy and also military chaplaincy that I bring to this idea of church planting. And it's always been a mix of that all together. But movement chaplaincy is one of those things that have brought all that together. And there's a lot of conversation over it. If you have not seen that, I encourage you to kind of look it up. Plenty of documents out there in Google to kind of like help you understand what movement chaplaincy is all about. With that, we are helping understand this ministry of presence to pioneers and leaders. And we're going to change that word from pioneer to movement initiator. Ken, part of the decolonization of language, pioneer carries homestead or yeah, I think it's called homestead decolonization. So like pioneers early in the United States has this colonization mentality in it. So we want to take out that word. We're going to put in a new word there. Reframe church as a movement. Again, going from church as industrial complex to church as movement. So the outcome with that, we're looking at resiliency and wholeness. Now, finally, on the continual steward engagement priority, the tactical initiatives that we're looking for that is we want to utilize and leverage videos, our social media platforms to tell the story of what's going on out in New Church Ministry as a whole for the denomination. People are often wondering, where are the 2020 Vision churches today in midst of the pandemic, in the midst of pandemic recovery? And so we're gonna be very strategic in like moving forward as we go out and visit different regions, not only during the regional assemblies, but developing intentional relationships with some of these folks to share their stories and to put it out there on social media so that not only is it on our social media platform, but any community, any congregation can share that information with their members and also utilize it within their services. We also want to create digital challenges. So with these digital challenges, hopefully also along with engaging with the social media platforms, we're engaging in the young adult to youth, realm. So that's why we're being intentional about that. And then of course, going to regional assemblies, developing those relationships, hearing the stories, learning the stories, and then retelling of the stories. Through that, the outcome would be sustainability and continuity within New Church Ministry. So that's that. Wesley, can you go on unshare, please? Are there any questions of what I shared? I spewed out a lot, but that is the strategic priority or the strategic plan for this year. I'm a military-minded person. It's helped me develop like, it's almost linear thinking, but it's like, there's circularism in the middle of it. If you've ever studied military planning, it's 8 steps. And like in the middle of the 8 steps is like a circular asking and answering and asking and answering questions sort of thing. So, so that's why it looks like, yeah, go for it.
So have you set a timeline for implementation for the strategic plan, or did you say that and maybe I missed it?
Yeah, so this is the year for year 2022 to 2023. This is my goal. This is my intention. This is the way forward that we're moving. And anything that, so like, as we New Church Ministry, as we're doing events, as we're doing functions and things of that nature, it's going to all be contained within that strategic plan. So if it's outside of that plan, we're not doing it. So
that is very, I give you 3 words. That's very intentional. It's very impressive and very engaged. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else with questions or observations even? Thank you, Matthew.
I will, everyone, I will send the meeting recap with the recording and with the notes, and I'll just put the presentation and this in there so that you can share that with your New Church Ministry team or your New Church regional teams. I know several people asked for both, so.
Right, and I would ask just to keep it within your New Church field. So this is sort of an internal document. You're an extension of New Church Ministry as being part of the New Church team. So, and then Bill, if you want to also share it with the regional or College of Regional Ministers, that's fine too. And And we'll get to what we were talking about, Bill, as the next item. Anybody else?
As someone very interested in the anti-racism work of our denomination, I just think this is so encouraging. And I'm really glad to see this, that these colonization language, this is very encouraging, very hopeful. Thank you.
Yes, yes. The key thing when it, for us to really be anti-racist, it has to be a cultural shift. So we got to get it from the very start. So anybody coming in, either affiliating or starting a new community, gets right off the bat an anti-racist approach, which is decolonization. Yeah.
Another
And
question.
as somebody who is a thinker by nature, I'm a head person.
Yes,
A
ma'am.
lot of times in some of these conversations around pro-reconciliation, anti-racism, a lot of it is heart language. Nothing wrong with that. It's not good or bad. It's just different. This was a lovely blending of head language and heart language, that it's not just about what we feel, it's about the way we think. And it's not just about the way we think. Our emotions will move from that. So what I appreciate about it from a learning point of view is that the language is broad enough and succinct enough to appeal and to be understood by those of us who are kind of like the doctor, only we don't have two hearts, we have two heads. We have a brain here and a brain here. It speaks to a really wide range of people. And I think that's rare in any kind of document like that. So
Thank you.
thumbs up. Yeah.
I'm a 7, so I'm a thinking person anyway, too. It takes a lot of effort for me to connect head and heart, but
I'm a
it's
big old
practice.
5. I don't have a heart. So there you go.
Okay, so I don't know where I'm at. Obviously, I need to do it. I need to find where I am on the scale. I was just going to make a statement. I'm hoping that this language that's been putting together, that somehow we can implement that into our anti-racism training. I'm one of the trainers for our region. So I'm hoping that will help us to broaden as we also do our training. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Jose, will we start to see some of this language and some of, frankly, I think expressing the intent and the direction on the new church ministry website
Yes.
in the near future? Because I find it helpful, just even with our new church team, to send them to that website. And it's helpful if that's mirrored there. They get a sense if they can't make these type of meetings.
Yes.
Helps
Yes, sir.
reinforce.
Yes. So Matthew, our person for our marketing and communication, her name is Nadine, and she is a rock star. And she's like always asking me, well, you want me to change this on this? I'm like, oh yeah, do what you need to do. so Nadine's on top of it.
Awesome. Here.
Okay. Belinda, anything that you want to share from that?
No, I just want to share that, and I put it in the chat too. I'm just excited in the direction you're moving forward, and just actually engaging and using that language, not only in New Church Ministry, but also throughout the entire ministry of Disciples Church Extension Fund, because we are engulfed in this together as partners through this. And so I love it. It's great hearing it. I mean, I've seen it now, 3 times, I think, or 4 times. So each time you hear it and see it, you get something different from it. So, but I'm excited, and then, as we partner even further, of course, I love the part always about partnering with regional ministers. If we can have, 27 regional ministers like Bill Roseham, that would be wonderful. That supports us and move us forward. So as even though we don't plant churches, or we support the regions in as they bring on new churches, and we provide those resources. How do we do that consistently across the entire, all of the regions, is it 30 now? Yeah, 30 regions now. So how is that in sync together? And so that would be wonderful for us to be able to do that. But I'm here to support you, Jose, as you know, and the New Church Ministry, and we do this work together, that it's not just New Church Ministry effort, but it's a collective effort.
Yes.
You have my 200% support on that. And you already know that.
Thank you, Belinda. And then that would be a good segue for our next topic, which I will be kind of brief on this. We only got about 10 minutes. So Reverend Terry was supposed to be a part of this conversation also, because she wanted to express the importance of New Church Ministry within the church from her perspective. And on that, she encouraged myself and Belinda, and then and also she spoke with the regional College of Regional Ministers about developing more intentional engagement. So Bill and I have been talking together about a way forward as developing a team that has a few folks from the College of Regional Ministers and us here at New Church Ministry to kind of really develop an assessment basically, and an understanding of what are the needs for our congregations out there right now. And that way we can be in continual development of whether it's processes, programming, or anything of that nature to help our folks who are out there on the ground. So Bill and I are working together on that, and we will be holding NCLC in communication with that, because hopefully what I would like is to also have a few folks from the NCLC to be part of those conversations. And this is to have the whole intent. What Terry wants is like this, it's good to have accountability. So there's no shame in having accountability in this. So holding NCM up in accountability, and also the whole church as accountable, because this is a whole church ministry. New Church Ministry is a whole church ministry. So it's not just one section of it, it's a whole for all of us. So having that kind of accountability, that kind of engagement with leadership and folks from different perspectives will better serve the church as a whole. So that's where we're at with that. Anybody have any questions on that? And I would invite you to think about, if this is something that you have time to do, please let me know. And I'm only asking for one or probably 2 to 3 people to be part of these conversations, along with the College of Regional Ministers, and they're going to offer up 2 to 3 people also. So it'd be like 6 or 7 of us in total. So yeah, so Bill put on there in July is when they're going to meet to kind of like put forth. So we still have some time. So, just think about it, meditate, pray. Hi, Liz. Do you have something?
Hi, I just wanted to quickly, I've been driving this whole time and listening. So I'm, if you don't know who I am, I'm the chair of New Church Ministry in Arizona, and
Okay.
Matthew invited me today. So thank you for allowing me to participate and listen to your new initiatives. I just wanted to I just wanted to say how innovative I think this work is, and I think that for those who are already thinking big about how do we get everybody to do this, I just want to encourage us to remember that it takes somebody to start for everybody to hear it and understand it and start to move into it. So I just think it's so exciting to see the church moving in a direction where we're understanding why our language is so important and why we need to be a part. That's all I need to say. I don't have any more complete thought, but anyway, thank you all for letting me be here.
All right, thank you, Liz, for sharing that. Yeah, and I just want to lift up what Liz is saying, because what we're proposing here is a paradigm shift and starting new faith communities. We're going away from the traditional marketing type church planting models, because they were trying to change mental models, but they were never intended to change the paradigm, which is a power over structure. We're wanting a power with structure. And so that's why changing the language will help us in shifting the paradigm as a whole. And so we have to create something new. We're creating something new. We're co-creating with God in this, because God is moving. God has been moving. We can see it in Black Lives Matter. We can see it in Poor People's Campaign. We can see it everywhere. That what they're doing is church. What they're doing is what God is doing. That's Modus Dei, movement of God. And so we're just trying to catch up to what God is already doing. And so so we need to be co-creating with God on this. So paradigm shifting. Last thing on that, with that paradigm shifting, so we would have to redo a lot of the curriculum for the Leadership Academy, the Empower program. And so, but there are 3 key elements that I see us doing this in. The first element, faith-rooted organizing. The second element, contemplative action. And the third element, prophetic advocacy. And with those 3 elements, we will be able to help establish movements for wholeness. So that is the vision on that. You want me to repeat that? Is that what that's saying? Okay, faith-rooted organizing, contemplative action, and prophetic advocacy. All right. Well, I am at 12:56 on my clock. That's all I have for today from my perspective. Does anybody have anything else for the good of the group?
I put this in the chat. I was super excited to hear how focused Jose was on finding those new leaders for tomorrow. And so one of the things I wanted to do last year for Leadership Academy, but I think we'll be able to implement this year, is have a discerners track. I put this in the chat, but just in case you didn't see it, have a discerners track for Leadership Academy, which allows those who are at some of our DOC undergraduate institutions, those who are attending seminary currently, but it doesn't just have to be young people. If you've got someone in your region that is thinking about discerning, starting a new faith community, initiating a new movement, then this track is for them. It would be heavily discounted since they don't have a team yet. They don't have a core team. They don't have a start date. They don't have all these things that we normally require at Leadership Academy. So if you've got people like that, please let me know. I'm going to be giving everybody I'm going to give all the regional NC teams a code that you can give those people, and it will take the price down to a heavily discounted rate so that they can attend the start track. They can see if this is something that they feel like God is calling them to do without having a huge commitment of financially, without also having to go through all the motions of setting a team aside before they do that. So just be, as you're talking to people, just be thinking about those folks who might be a great fit for this discerners track.
All right. Anyone else? Yes,
I had
Liz.
one other, just the finish of my thought was that that for me, what I get so excited about with new church ministry is that new church ministry is always intersectional with established church ministry, and like the Venn diagram of how we all connect to each other, and that the work that we're doing does work both to the established church and out from the established church. And so all of those things are so intersectional, and that's how we move as a movement. So that's so exciting. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Liz. Thank you. Okay. All right, we're at 12:59. Last chance. Going once, going twice. Okay, and with that, may the grace of God go with you. May the path be cleared before you. Go in peace in Christ's name.